Hello and welcome to Mediumship Matters with me, Hannah Macintyre. How are you doing? Episode 61. It's just flying by, guys. Can't believe it. And as always, I'm so grateful for all the shares, the reviews, all of the follows, all of the interactions. You guys are amazing. I'm so grateful. I know that it's a pain listening to me say this every week, but sadly needs must. So I've got some listener questions that I'm going to answer today, and looking at the date on this one, I realise I'm not as behind as I think I am. It's only been a month and a week. So first up is Kelly. Kelly's message is this: Hi lovely Hannah, thanks for all that you record and post, love it. I have a question please. I have heard you discuss the vibe, if that's the word, of your audience, but has anyone ever asked you about the setting? You work in a variety of places, and I was wondering if the surroundings affect your work. For example, eating a cream tea inside an old building with character tastes better than in a newly built place, haha, if you get what I mean. Just a weird question, but I often think as your places are of varied value of setting, hotels, halls, home. Yes, right, Kelly, you're actually spot on here. And this is something that Amanda and I spend a lot of time talking about, and she'll be listening to this going, yeah, this is the problem. It's such an interesting thing, and it's an interesting thing because I've been trying to find venues to widen my reach a bit next year, and are really struggling. And it's really hard to look at somewhere online and get a good read for the energy, but equally I don't have time to travel miles and miles and miles to sit in a venue to see what I think of it to then come back, and it is a problem. So one of the things particularly for me is that I understand that if you've been to a church or you've just seen most mediums out there, not all, but most, then you expect mediumship to be very still and calm and slow and, dare I say it, a little bit sad. Some of the mediums I've seen work, it's been a little bit like they're demonstrating in a funeral home. And for me, demonstrating should be fun. It should be uplifting. It should be a great night out. Someone commented on one of my posts on Facebook the other day saying, I'm still buzzing from that last night where I saw you in Deal. That's what I want. I want people to feel uplifted. The spirit world uplifts me. And venue has a massive part to play in that. And I'm trying at the moment to work out how much. So things I have learnt include when I was at Maidstone, that was a difficult venue because I didn't realise that the bar was open to the general public, and so there were lots of people in there drinking, being rowdy, making a noise, peeking in through the windows, stuff like that. So that's quite distracting to work in, and not a great energy because they're sending in lots of judgment and stuff like that. So there's that. And then, for example, we've got Chilham, which is the most beautiful village hall that I demonstrate in around here. It's absolutely stunning, but it's got the weirdest energy. It is weird. I've got one more in there in September, and I'm going to see how it goes. I keep trying to tweak the Chilham events, and if I can't get this one to go the way I want it to, then I'm giving up with that venue. And I don't know what it is. It just doesn't feel fun to work in there. It feels sort of slow and sluggish and tired. So absolutely. And it's a real problem when you're big enough to fill venues but not big enough to fill big venues, because I'm trying to find that balance between I want it to feel like a night out, I want it to feel exciting, I want it to feel uplifted and enjoyable. You won't catch me playing sad songs when you walk in. It will be 90s party classics. It's supposed to be uplifting, it's supposed to be a good night, it's supposed to be fun, alongside venues and getting the right vibe at different venues. And it's hard. And if I was bigger than I am and I had a bigger reach and a bigger following, it would probably be easier in some ways because I just go straight into theatres. But I haven't got the following to be able to do that. And so it's very difficult. So things that I have decided that I can't deal with include, I don't want to be putting all the chairs out or putting them away at the end of the night, because that is just an extra thing that you have to do. You don't want to be all hot and sweaty before you even start from putting the chairs out, and equally you don't want to be exhausted at the end and know you've got to put all the chairs away. I like a bar. Now, I know in Mediumship Natters, Lisa Justwine was saying, oh, but what is it with you Brits and the alcohol? Now, I don't want people off their heads at a demonstration with me, but I do want people to be in that party spirit and having a good time. And for some of you, you'll be able to do that on a cup of tea, and for some of you, it's that having a glass of wine makes it feel that bit more special. So that's always an interesting thing to navigate. So yeah, there's loads of variables in demonstrating and going out. And for me, that is why I don't do parties or home visits for one-on-one readings, and why I stopped doing that pretty swiftly after I started, because for me, it was too difficult going into people's houses and all the residual energy that was there and all the stuff that had been built up. It just was not comfortable for me. I also remember going with a friend who I was supporting when she was doing a demonstrating night, and it felt exactly the same in that environment, just sluggish, difficult. So I think getting people out of their houses works for me and my style of mediumship, but there are plenty of great mediums that go into people's houses and do a great cracking job. I think it's easier to read cards in other people's houses than it is to make spirit connections, just because of the energy and how it works. But that might be my own limitations coming through there. So it is a balance, and it's a difficult thing. And I did go nuts and bought a load of staging, like glittery tinsel backgrounds and stuff like that for demonstrating. But honestly, they've not even come out with me because I just cannot be asked to carry them. I've got enough stuff to remember. So one day the dream will be venues approaching me and a sense of ease, and they will be the right ones and it will be wonderful. But at the moment it is just pain. And the same goes, I'm not sure what's going to happen next year, because I really do want to go out and do this tour, but I cannot get any venues to reply to me. I cannot get them to come back to me. I just feel like Spirit are trying to tell me something, and maybe I should just surrender to it. But it's very, very frustrating. I've sent about 30 emails and no one replies. Like, what are the odds? I'll tell you who does reply. The venues that want $5,000, they reply. £5,000 for 3 hours, please, Hannah. No. So, yeah, but the others, nothing. Absolutely nothing. So it's always interesting. Yeah, and one of the things that, while I remember this, while I'm still on this topic of atmosphere, is I think that plays a massive part in a demonstration. I've been to demonstrations where they've had all the strip lights on, and it's been really, really bright. You could operate in that room. It's so bright, and it just doesn't feel comfortable. I think it's really good to have dimmed lights, candles, just makes it feel more safe. I think less exposed, more relaxing and special. So these are things that I definitely recommend if you're a demonstrating medium, is turn off the overhead lights, invest in some pretties to make it feel good, feel comfortable, and go from there. One of the things that Amanda and I want to do is I've forgotten what it's called, seating where they've all got, little groups, and they've got a candle on the table, and doing a night like that. I've just got to find somewhere with the right sort of tables. This is what I mean. Everything has a something that needs to be organised and sorted that's different. So we're learning, always learning. And if you are listening to this and you have any advice or any suggestions, that would also be marvellous. So there's that. Okay, now the other person I wanted to talk to was Kate. And Kate says, "Hello, I've been listening to your podcast for a while now, and I want to thank you for not only creating a welcoming forum for ideas, but also an avenue for allowing us to understand how each medium approaches their work. It has been fascinating. I'm writing to you because while I have inadvertently felt called to spirit and sat in circle for roughly a year, I have no natural affinity towards mediumship. I sometimes feel myself conflicted between two extremes. One, if spirit keeps bringing this aspect into my life, then why can I not develop whatever potential may or may not be there? And two, perhaps there is a part of myself that is drawn to this aspect of spirituality, but there are other lessons my soul needs to direct itself towards in this life. Obviously, there are no right answers, but I appreciate your perspective." Okay, Kate, right. Now, welcome to me and mediumship. I sat in a development circle for 3 years with a teacher, and we did spirit guide work, and never did any mediumship. And the more that mediumship called to me, the more I felt like I shouldn't be doing it because it was ungrateful, because it wasn't as natural and blah, blah, blah. And it just became a big thought form. And I think that's some of what and where you're at. Circles, in my experience, are really, really great for getting people connecting to spirit and opening to spirit, and that support and that solidarity that you get from being with other like-minded people. But equally, I don't always think they're the best place to learn evidential mediumship. Because evidential mediumship, you need to be pushed. You need to have a teacher that's doing it. So that would be my first thing. Is the teacher of the circle actually doing the work? Are they an evidential medium? Are they going out there and doing that work? Because there is almost two forms of mediumship, isn't there? And I like both. There's the kind of more comfortable, fluffier stuff, the interpreting signs, the spirit world stepped forward and they gave me a conch shell for you. And as you hold that conch shell to your lips, it makes a noise. And I know that they are talking about you needing to be louder and clearer and make that call. And then there's the other form of mediumship, which is I've got your granddad here and I know he smoked a pipe. And they are very different. And so the first thing I would ask you, Kate, is what type of mediumship that circle is teaching. So when I first started teaching, it was very much like the first, with the signs and the building that connection and the healing and having experiences with the spirit world. But now I mainly teach mediumship, evidential mediumship. So I agree with you in some respects that you have to go on the journey. But I also understand that sometimes it's about finding the right spot and stepping up for the spirit world. So when I decided finally that I was going to allow myself to do evidential mediumship and stop telling myself that I couldn't or I shouldn't or I was greedy or any of that stuff that was coming out of my head, when I started doing that, it was very much the spirit world going, okay, finally you've decided, rather than them saying, okay, now you're ready. And I think they will get you ready and your soul will get you ready whenever. So I think this really is about permission. I think you need to give yourself permission to do mediumship. And I had no natural affinity to it. I didn't believe that I was capable of it. I didn't believe that I could do it. I thought it was a special gift bestowed upon the chosen few, and I have worked my butt off. So you will need determination. You will need to step up. You will need to reach out and grab it. It won't be offered to you. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That's taught me an awful lot. And I mean, one of my friends that I met at AFC, she's a natural medium, the kind of person that I'd give a foot to have the skills of, has never had any doubt, because she can just hear spirit and she knows it's spirit, and that's done, and jobs are good in. And I was so envious of that. And then she was messaging me saying, but you need to understand, because you've had the journey, you're able to teach people, you're able to talk about it. I wouldn't know how to teach. And that was such a great lesson for me, in thinking that she'd got it all, and then realising that there were gaps in her knowledge just as there were gaps in mine, just in different places. So I do believe that you want mediumship. It's you sending out that call. It's you being fascinated with it. It's you being in love with it. But there's nothing wrong with that. What if that desire is absolutely valid? What if that urge to be able to do this and give that gift to people is part of your purpose here? What if it's everything you ever wanted, and it's going to teach you so much about yourself and who you are, that it's exactly the right path for you, and you're just limiting yourself by sticking with one teacher or sticking where you're stuck. I hope that makes sense. So I would be interested to talk to you and find out what you believe no natural affinity towards mediumship means, because it's obviously calling to you. You obviously want it. So if you accept that that is its natural affinity, then what you need is a teacher that's going to teach you how to do it. And I will say this, there are lots of tools that you can learn with mediumship to make it easier, but in its entirety, it is simple. They are there, you turn to them, you ask, you get an answer. It will feel like you've made it up. It will feel like it's nonsensical. If you push it too hard, all you'll be able to hear is your own mind going, told you got nothing, told you got nothing, told you got nothing. So you have to learn to speak before that voice can get a grip. That's one of my biggest tips. If you go, who is with me? Is it male or female? I feel like it's female, but did I feel like it was female? What if I've got that wrong? What if it's male? What will spirit think of me if I've got that wrong? If you do that, then you're disconnecting. So you almost have to open your mouth to speak before you know the answer, and then you'll be amazed at what can come out. So I would suggest that rather than, continue with the circle by all means, but sign yourself up for some mediumship classes. Sign yourself up for some mediumship workshops where you know that they are working on evidential mediumship, not when they are working on spirit guides or anything like that. And put yourself in that vulnerable place where you will have the holy shits, as I call it. You will be completely nervous. You will think you can't do it. You will face all of that fear, but then you will do it anyway. That would be my suggestion. And don't worry about the lessons that your soul needs to teach you, because they'll get the lessons that you need to you when you need it. And I honestly believe that your lesson at this time is very much like my lesson was, which was waiting for spirit to bring it to me, and then realising that I had to reach out and grab it. And it was there all along. I was just waiting for permission. So I hope that helps, Kate. And if it doesn't, send me a message, send me more information so that I can answer you more fully. But that's where I feel. We all just sit and think, I love it. It's almost, I love it so much, so I shouldn't have it. I want it so badly, that means that I'm greedy. And I think sometimes that can just hold us back. And the best thing you can do is just give yourself what you want. Give yourself what you want. See how that suits you. Okay, another email here from John. Okay, and John has messaged to say, I love the podcast and listen all the time. I live in Australia. G'day, John. I have been around spirit most of my life in one way or another, and in recent years I have tried to develop the gifts I was told I have. I have had many encounters with spirit, but it was always when they wanted to contact me. I could never sit down and focus and tune in when I wanted to. Now, I have had some really big encounters. I've encountered spirit that have passed suddenly and have anguish about leaving children behind, and they hold that fear of not being able to be there for them, and I can actually feel the same feeling she had right at that moment, and we communicated to calm her down and move her on. Right. I'm going to stop there with that bit because you've sent me a massive email, John, and I'm going to do it in bits. I just want to be really clear. I disagree with your experience there. I'm not saying that wasn't your experience, but I just disagree with your interpretation of it. I don't believe that any spirit gets stuck here because I think the spirit world are way too clever and intelligent and powerful for that. But I do believe that you might have caught and picked up on the imprint of that lady's fear at the moment of her passing or in the building up to her passing and her worry. So what you've done there is you've healed the energy of that space by allowing it to move on. But of course we can disagree, and that's absolutely fine. Another woman came to me as I was reclined on the sofa at home. She showed me long net curtains slowly flapping in a living room, as if there was a window open behind them, and then out of the blue I had her vision and I was thrust forward towards the window and straight out of it. I had all the feelings of falling from height, which I have to say was a very intense feeling, and that intense I had to shout, "Stop it, that's too much, I can't handle this sensation." Now, on the funny side, I was sat with my wife and kids and the room was quite relaxed, but then I burst into stop lol, which, as you can imagine, freaked everybody out. I have even been away with work and the dogs have been growling down the hallway constantly. Believe it or not, this one time both dogs were growling, and when my wife went to the end of the hallway which leads to the front door, one of the dogs rolled towards my wife, but there was nobody down the hall. She just said, "He is at work and not here. He is in the Pilbara, so if you want him, you will have to go to him." And that night I had my encounter with spirit. So I may have told you guys this story on the podcast before, but my sister came over once and we were watching something horror based on the TV, and her dog was barking into thin air in the corner of my room. And I said, "Whoever is there, please go away. You're creeping us out. We don't like it." And the energy went and the dog stopped barking. And then it was kind of worse because the dog stopped. So we were both like, well, that was evidential because the dog stopped. And then the next week I went to Circle and my teacher said, "Why did you tell your grandmother to go away this week?" So sometimes dogs can see things that we can't, and they bark because dogs bark for all sorts of reasons. My dog barks when my parents come round because he's excited to see them. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it was bad. Lastly, my wife's friend house burnt down a few weeks back. I don't know her or her history. My wife helped out at the house and had some things with her when she returned home. Being nosy, I looked in a bag and I pulled out a small child's Spider-Man suit. As soon as I touched it, I could see a small child stood in a white shirt with a weird quiff type hairstyle. This was very strong, so I just said wow and explained to my wife what I saw, and she explained that the suit was her friend's son's favourite as a child, and he has passed at a young age, and he had shown himself to me as a child. He also showed me a small box, then a hallway, then a door on the left and a sharp right, and something personal low down. I passed on the message to my wife and she told her friend. A week later I was invited round to her friend's house. My wife's friend asked me what I saw, to which I explained everything. She then said wait there, and she went to get a box that had been recovered out of the hallway cupboard which was on the left side, and it contained locks of hair, photos and personal things from childhood she had kept. She didn't even know it was there, which just made me think wow, and it blew me away that I could get that within seconds of holding something. I find myself having trouble meditating now. I can't focus, and when I go to my secret place, it's faint and hard to maintain, but the spirit side feels different. It's like I have a voice in me that says yes, but that's not real, when I'm totally into it, and I love connecting spirit. I love the feeling my guardians give me when they come though. I have trouble connecting with my guardians. It just feels like everything to do with spirit has stopped and I'm really struggling with everything, and I don't know what has changed. Now it's hard to get motivated to meditate, and I hate that it's gone this way. Can you offer any assistance, John? Okay, John. So thank you for sharing all of your stories and your experiences. And that story about the box is just amazing. How comforting to that mum. Now, one of the things that because I'm a Capricorn, I'm very anally retentive. Woo, team, yay. Apologies if you are listening to this as a Capricorn, but you are probably anally retentive too. So I like things just right and labelled and in their boxes and where they should be. So the first thing I want to say to you is that when I teach mediumship, I teach that there are 2 different frequencies of energy to sit in when you're working mediumistically. So there is the spirit guide frequency, guardians as you call them, and there is the evidential frequency, and they are different. And what I want you to know, John, is that you are in complete control of which frequency you sit in. So spirit are obviously coming through to you very strongly to show you that you have this ability, which is amazing. And there are people listening to this podcast that would kill for your ability, but don't let it put you off. So what I do, because I am very step orientated and I like it done in stages, is in my mind, I imagine one of the old style radios with the line, and I turn my dial to whichever frequency I want to work in. So all you need to do, John, is turn your frequency to spirit guide or guardian frequency and just see that come up on the dial, and then you will know where you're at. And then you'll be able to meditate and invite your guardians in and feel that love and feel that comfort and that safety. Now, spirit, as I've said on this podcast, have only come through to me when I haven't asked them to, twice. So what I want you to do is be really strong with your boundaries here, because if they're coming through in this way, there's part of you that is seeking it and opening up to it. Except I think probably with the child, because I think the child probably wanted to let their mum know that they were okay and wanted the box to be recovered, knew that they would be sad that they hadn't got that anymore. So that's quite important and great work that you did there for the spirit world. But the rest of the time, if I feel a presence come in, I say, not now. Office hours are these. This is when I'm working. I'm not working right now. If I'm meditating, I am really good at being I'm in this frequency. I'm shut off to anything else. I am just working with my spirit guides right now, and I think that that's okay to do. And this is really important for everybody. So I'm really glad that you messaged, because so many of us think that we need to be passive in our experience with the spirit world. We need to just receive. We need to just wait and see what they bring us. And it's not like that at all. It's about you taking control of spirit. It's about you saying what you want and what you don't want. It's about you being clear and strong in your choices and your decisions, and not letting yourself doubt that. And that is a massive lesson for you. And they will always do as you ask, unless there's some sort of higher purpose, like the child with the box. Generally speaking, they will always do as you ask. Spirit, do not come and wake me up at night. Probably once a year, I get someone that might let me know that they're there. They might knock on a door or something, and I'll go, not now, I'm sleeping, and they'll come to me the next day. But apart from that, I do not get interrupted. I do not call that energy to me, and you don't have to either. So go back to finding your peace with it. And you can even say to the spirit world things like, I really don't like what's happening with my mediumship at the moment. I just want to go back to that place with my spirit guides. So I'm shutting down from all communicators that are not guardians at this time. You'll have to find somebody else to do the work, and I'll let you know when I'm ready. And they will follow that, John. So I really want to empower you to be strong in what you want, and you choose how you experience your mediumship. And that, I think, will really help you. I hope it does anyway. But it sounds like you've got a wonderful gift, and a really immersive gift where you're really experiencing it so strongly. And you will learn to manage that, and you will learn to put limits in it. And they're showing me now like the gears of a car. You have to remember that you are the one that decides which gear you're in. You decide how much you put your foot on the accelerator. You are in charge. So at any time, if you want to slow it down or stop, you can do that. You can apply the brakes, and that's okay. The spirit world will not judge you or be upset for you or anything like that. So I hope that helps, and I hope that you can find your way back to a place of love and peace with your guardians, and then you'll be able to just enjoy your mediumship a bit more, which would be really, really lovely. And again, if this hasn't helped or hasn't made sense, please do email podcast@hannahmedium.co.uk and I will take it further. But in the meantime, I wish you lots of love and luck on your journey. So there we go, 3 listener questions, and I've still got an inbox full to get through. I haven't forgotten you, and I will catch up with you all again soon. Thank you very much.